how to create a mosaic line effect in Photoshop. Something like that. Super colourful line design. I'm using Photoshop CC220. I'm going to create a fresh document. And this whole thing uses a line, very simple rectangle. So just going to go to the rectangle tool in the tools panel. Make certain its shape in the top left and set the fill to a gradient. I'm going to go for black to white. And that's in the basic section. Now draw a line from top to bottom. Very thin line. You can vary that, of course. The document I'm using is sized 1280 by 720. So I've got that thin line there now. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to rotate it slightly. And the reason I'm rotating is because I want to define it as a pattern. And if it's a straight line across, straight line down like that, it doesn't define as a pattern particularly well. So it's really nice just to rotate it slightly and then use the define pattern. Now, layer menu, layer style. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to add a bit of depth to it because I want it a mosaic. So I want just a little bit of depth. Just add some depth, size. You can change the angle, etc. with a bevel. Also add a stroke. I want some grouting. So there's a bit of stroke, 2 or 3 pixels. And also drop shadow, just give it a bit of depth as well. Again, change the distance, spread, just to create that lovely 3-dimensional depth there. Now what I want to do is I want to remove the background. So window and layers. Just go down to the background layer. And if you want to find out more about styles and how to create them, the bevels, etc., I would suggest go to some of the Graphic Extras channel videos about layers. Now what I want to do is select part of that design. I don't want the whole design. Just going to go rectangle and marquee tool. And I'm just going to select a little bit of that design. And then I go to Edit menu and Define Pattern. Click OK. And I'm going to do it a couple of times. I'm going to create slightly longer, and maybe a thinner one. It's nice to be able to have a few samples to try out. So I always like to select a few before I get rid of it. And again, Edit menu and Define Pattern. As I say, if you don't rotate it slightly, that Define Pattern does not work. It ends up as a very thin line. So I'll remove the selection, and I'm now going to go back to a fresh document. So I don't need that anymore. So fresh document. Oh, I'm using the history panel with a snapshot. Edit and fill. Now I could apply this on a layer, so I could go to layer menu and new layer. I haven't done that, but it's just on the background layer. Select the pattern you've just defined, or one of those patterns. You can see other examples I created in earlier videos. Select that one. Now with pattern, custom pattern set, what you need now to do is go to the script. Set script and set it to spiral. Now the preview rarely matches the end result. I have to say it's one of the ones that's quite frustrating. But it's really useful experimental effects. Ring spacing set to the min. Always set it to the min. I always find that the best one for this. Pattern scaling set to 0.9, 0.8. Whatever you want. You can see by slightly varying it, the end result changes. Well, the result in the preview changes. The end result may be totally radically different. And then change the pattern spacing. And again, that will radically change the end result as well. Even a subtle change. Also, colour randomness, set that to the max. And click OK. And you've got that design there. So it's fairly close to what I want. But what you can do, you can always go to Edit menu and Undo Fill, and then Edit and Fill. Now, select one of the others. Now I'm just going to go one with slightly longer. I think probably works better with, I want it slightly clearer. So I'm just going to go with a slightly long one there. But there's a whole range of different, and that's the good thing about defining, just create a number of them to work with. Now use exactly the same settings with script, spiral, etc. Click OK. Now, if I clicked OK at this point, I suspect that the result will not match that at all. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the ring spacing. I want that to be... Now I'm going to enter some values that I pre-worked on. It's like cheap, but that's... So I'm going to set that to 0.9. And it does depend on the size of the pattern, does depend on the document and all that sort of thing. So it does require a little bit of experimentation to get the right value to get this design. So I'm going to go for -162 for the ring spacing, that's the minimum. Pattern spacing, again, you can just vary the pattern spacing, and even a subtle change will end up with a totally different design. Does make sense personally. But I'm going to go with -110. And again, set the colour randomness to as high as possible, or near enough as high, and brightness as well. Click OK. Now, that's the end result I want. So you've got that lovely mosaic design, that mosaic line, all coming out from that centre point. And again, you can experiment with these values. You can maybe make it slightly larger, smaller, up to you. But you can also do other things with that. So you can now go to, say, filter menu. Now, I could have applied this on a layer. So I could have gone to layer menu, new layer, before I started doing any of this. So it would have been created on a layer. And then you could turn it into a smart object. So oil paint and stylize and oil paint. Set the stylization fairly high. Click OK. And you can apply it 3 or 4 times. I always find oil paint works best 3 or 4 times. Just one apply, never seems to really do it. Then image menu, adjustments. Go for levels, maybe go for vibrance. Just brighten it up a bit. Change the input levels, move left to right, change it depending how you want it. Up to you. Don't have to do that effect either at all. And also image menu and adjustments. I say vibrance. But you can also go for colour lookup. Maybe use the 3D LUT file, or maybe abstract. Maybe go for a gold blue effect. And there's lots of others as well to choose from. Once you're happy, click OK. And again, you can always go to image menu, adjustments and vibrance afterwards. Change the vibrance, push that up a bit. Saturation, push that up as well. And click OK. And you can repeat that. You don't have to apply it just once. Just go to image menu, adjustments. Sadly, there's no repeat command for the adjustments. So vibrance and saturation, click OK. Maybe do it a couple more times. What you can do, you can always go to a layer menu and duplicate layer. You don't have to do all these things. The mosaic effect was a bit further back, but it's nice. You can extend this further. So you've got 2 layers now. What you can do with layers, you can resize them. Obviously, don't resize it too much. Make it slightly bigger. Stretch it out a bit. You don't want to go too far, because it just will look horrible. But go a subtle resize. What you can do then, you've got 2 layers. Well, you can combine them. So you can go to Window and Layers. The top layer selected. You can go to blending modes. So at the moment it's normal. What you can do, darken, lighten, difference. Push it up a bit so you can see it. Slightly cut off there. So I'm going to go for difference. That creates a really lovely, colourful design. Or you could use opacity as well. Set the opacity 50%. Another possibility. And you can see a whole range of different designs can be created just simply by running through the blending modes. Get rid of that. And then just flatten it. Flatten the whole thing. So go to Layer menu and Flatten Image. And then, of course, what you can do, you can apply additional effects. Maybe oil paint again, or wave, or liquefy. This lovely line design. Filter menu, oil paint. Image menu, adjustments and levels, just to brighten it up a bit. I always find oil paint seems to make it a bit duller. More use vibrance. Push the saturation up. Click OK. I hope you found this tutorial of interest. Please subscribe to the Graphic Extras channel. Always adding new tutorials all the time about Photoshop, Illustrator, and many others. Also, please add a comment or two. Always appreciated. Also, a dislike or like. Thank you much.